How's it going, everybody? My name is Snazzy Patty, and today, man, we're checking out a video by Darwin's Lab. This video is called The 5 Levels of Dreams. Man, I don't dream too often, but I just woke up not too long ago from a crazy dream, man. I might talk about it throughout this video. But anyways, as always, the link to the original video is in the description below. As always, go check it out. Without further ado, let's lock in.
Dreaming is ridiculous. For reference, we know more about the abyss that is the Marianas Trench than we do about the mental landscapes of your dreams. We know more about the tiny remnants of DNA extinct creatures have left behind than we do about your nightly hallucinations. Heck, we even know more about Martian dust storms than we do about our little bedtime stories.
Well, that's because these are all like tangible things that we can like actually interact with, touch, or so, you know what I mean? Dreaming we can only really see, and most of the time you forget what you even dreamed of within the few hours you woke up, if not instantly.
And yet, everyone dreams. They're the most private thing that all of us have in common. Immediately recognizable, but incredibly difficult to define. So much so that for decades, dreams were believed to be nothing more than brain noise, very fleeting and completely meaningless. But if that's true, why would your brain paralyze you during REM sleep? Why would it burn costly energy running simulations instead of repairing itself? And why would REM sleep appear in the womb way before any life experience? The reality is, the rabbit hole of dreams is—
What the hell do babies dream about in the womb? That's pretty cool. I never knew that. I wonder honestly what you dream about when you're in the womb, because you have no life experiences to dream about.
deep, way deeper than you think. And from personal Reddit threads claiming to see the same stranger in every dream for over a decade, to entire scientific databases containing tens of thousands of peer-reviewed dream reports, completely different people find themselves in the exact same places with the exact same sequence of events, sometimes even while being awake. So what exactly is going on here? And how deep into dreams do we have to go to find out? Well, as it turns out, dreams have levels, and they get far stranger, go far deeper, and are far more consequential than we could have ever possibly imagined. The 5 levels of dreams aren't random. They build on one another through a sequence. But before that sequence even begins, there are 2 primary states of consciousness that everyone will experience: being awake and being asleep. However, what's less well known is that there's also a 3rd state, a strange in-between called hypnagogia, which is a transitional state between being awake and falling asleep, or vice versa. But what's interesting is that even though you're not fully asleep, raw fragmented noise still floods the brain, specifically geometric patterns. And yes, I mean these geometric patterns, which in
I've never seen those in my sleep. Okay.
level 1 is the pulsating chaos you'll experience as you drift into sleep. It was Heinrich Clover in the 1920s who first documented this phenomenon, and he found that there are 4 common patterns anytime someone begins entering an altered state: lattices, cobwebs, tunnels,
And like I'm supposed to see this like I see my dreams? Because I've never seen these once, ever. That I can remember at least. Obviously, I'm sure just like normal dreaming that it is happening, you just don't remember it. Because a lot of people say they don't dream. Like for a long time I would say I never dreamed. But no, you do dream, you just don't remember it. That's all.
and spirals, all of which are described as the precursors to our inner worlds. We're not entirely sure why this happens, but we do know it comes from the visual cortex, which is one of the theories behind why we dream in general. Because of neuroplasticity, if the visual cortex is unused, like in people who are blind, neighboring brain regions essentially invade that space to then repurpose it for what they do. So it's thought that we dream as a defense mechanism, to keep the visual cortex active and protect its territory while we sleep. But while this may very well be why we started dreaming in the first place, it doesn't explain the content of dreams, or why so many brain areas other than the visual cortex need to be involved. Still, these geometric patterns are the doorway to dreams. They're all that exists in level 1. Some people remember experiencing—
I always thought, like I've heard this theory that we dreamed to put ourselves in situations to prepare ourselves for. Like say back then when we were like, you know, hunter-gatherers or nomadic tribes and stuff like that, we would have dreams of like hunting certain big animals like woolly mammoths or big bears or moose or something like that. And we would dream about it so that way we could basically use it as like sparring in combat sports where you spar to calm yourself down and make sure that you're prepared for when it actually happens so you don't make mistakes and get panicked. Pretty much just literally running practice scenarios in your head while you're asleep so that when you actually find yourself in that situation, you're better prepared. At least you feel it. You have a better idea of what you're going to be going into and what you're going to do in that situation.
Them, and some people don't. But it is only once you cross through them that the real dreaming begins. Level 2. In level 2, you're dreaming. Kind of. You're somewhere, you might be someone, but the dream is still forming. So at this level, the landscape is the focus. But it's odd, feels incomplete, and is completely empty. Which is why this level is where the concept of dreamscape comes from. An art style defined by surrealism, usually characterized by familiar landscapes and bright colors. But while most people focus on the everyday environments, the houses that look familiar, or the proportions that make things feel off, what I find most interesting is
these types of images and these ones, hold on.
Usually
these ones right
characterized
here
by familiar landscapes and bright colors. But while
and like stuff like this, for some reason these remind me a lot of like my childhood and of like dreaming. Like it makes me feel super nostalgic. I think that's because like when you're a kid, you know, your memories, especially as you get older, are going to become more faded. So you really only remember the key details or specific points. So a lot of the extra details kind of just fade or blend away and stuff like that. That's why like all these images that are making me feel nostalgic are lacking in detail or very bland and flat looking. And also, in dreaming, you're only paying attention to certain parts. You only remember certain parts. So that's why so much is missing from the dreams when you're trying to remember it back.
People focus on the everyday environments, the houses that look familiar, or the proportions that make things feel off. What I find most interesting is the things that are missing. Now, I'm no artist, but I am familiar with the concept of negative spaces, which is when the absence of something outlines the main subject of the image by contrast. It works by creating a visual hierarchy that guides the viewer's eyes through the composition. But where it really shines is in its contribution to the harmony of the art piece. Negative spaces are used to distribute visual weight evenly. However, artists can take advantage of this by using too little or too much. Use too little and you can alter the viewer's perception by creating the feeling of being overwhelmed. Use too much and you can create a feeling of isolation or emptiness. In Dreamscape, aside from the fact that familiar objects are often conveyed, images feel familiar because the large negative space gives you the room needed to project your own feelings onto that artwork. And in this level of dreams, that's exactly what's happening. Dream researchers describe it as the void behind perception. Anthony Ravanchow calls it selective simulation. Dream dictionaries call it the archetypal emblem of the void. Either way, this is when your brain starts to build. And oh boy does it do that, with the most vivid, accessible material it has at its disposal, memories. But not just any memories, heavy ones, tagged with emotion, which come from the amygdala instead of the hippocampus. But at this point, what's supposed to be a dream is a void, unrendered and empty. And yet, it is that emptiness that allows the brain to project its emotions onto that void, creating a simple, barely rendered landscape of emotion. Pure emotion, in its most primal, raw, and chaotic form, stitched together from the deepest parts of your memories, with no plot, no structure, and no people, bubbling up to the surface as the foundation that every other level will be built upon. However, at this stage, what you experience is just the beginning. Level 3! A strange phenomenon that exemplifies what Level 3 is about is the airport dream, which has hundreds of posts dedicated to it on our dreams. In them, people report finding themselves in an airport, scrambling to catch a flight. But as they make their way towards the flight gate, things start to go terribly wrong. At first, the gate will move or disappear. In response, the dreamer changes course. But as they do, they get lost. So in a desperate attempt at reaching their flight on time...
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've never had a dream with anything to do with planes that I can remember. Even my fucking unconscious mind knows to stay away from planes. I don't deal with that. That stuff scares me. Which then is like, how do I plan on traveling the countries in the world and exploring and all that? I don't know. I gotta figure it out, man. I gotta get over the fear.
They try to ask people for help, but get ignored. Or worse, turn to find themselves as the only person in a massive airport. And no matter how much they run or how hard they try, eventually they'll miss their flight. Now, by itself, This isn't a particularly unsettling dream.
I hate having to run in my dreams, bro. It makes you so like you're so slow. It feels like you're running underwater. You know what I mean? Like I for the longest time, for like 2 3 months after high school, after I graduated, I had this reoccurring dream of me just skipping class. Like they weren't like they were different dreams, but it'd always be me skipping class. I was a D1 skipper in high school, okay? And I remember this one time I was running. Teacher caught me and they're actually chasing me off of the school premise, trying to grab me to drag me back. They never would have done that, but anyways, I couldn't run to save my life. It felt like I was just getting like dragged by like I don't know, some type of magnetic force into like the side of me, like the bushes and everything that was on the right of me. And the teacher caught my ass.
It's not comfortable, obviously, but I wouldn't call it a nightmare. However, where things do start to get nightmarish is when they repeat. And in the airport dream, this seems to be a frequent occurrence, as a couple months later, the same person will find themselves in the same narrative arc, but happening on a cruise or in a hotel.
I always feel like not only just reoccurring dreams, but like dreams, a lot of dreams have a deeper meaning that actually like are connecting with your actual life and your emotions and what you're going through at that moment. Necessarily not like the scenario situation where you're dreaming of hypotheticals and preparing yourself for it, but just in the general sense of whatever you're going through. Like say you have a lot of anxiety or like something you feel like is gonna happen, bad's gonna happen, you're gonna have a dream that can some way relate to that, you know?
Or when they're on vacation, all of which have the same outcome but with a different sequence of events. Generally, it's thought that a dream about never arriving in a transportation setting is tied to anxiety about unresolved life tasks.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, how like yeah, dreams can tie into real life feelings and emotions and stuff you're going through.
But with the setting itself depending on the transportation settings you're most accustomed to. Regardless, this phenomenon,
which makes sense because I've never taken a plane. But I've been late many places riding my bike or running because a lot part of my life growing up, I've walked to places or took my bike because for the large part of my life, I was a fucking child.
perfectly encapsulates the key aspect of this level. It's metaphorical. With raw emotion taking center stage, your brain is now trying to shape it. But to do that, it needs to turn up the volume, amplifying the emotion until it's strong enough to be processed. Without the ability to use language, since, you're asleep, it does this by distilling the emotions into one of 5 central themes: identity, desire, fear, loss, or conflict. Taking the same memory fragments as earlier and then repurposing and combining them into a structure that can express one of.
Speaking of conflict, first of all, this looks really fucking trippy. But yeah, no, my dream I had, man, I got into a fist fight with my best friend, man. I brought him up on the channel multiple times, man. Mason, we got into a fight in my dreams, man. It happened. Yep. And I've been awake for a little bit, so I'm trying to remember. I don't even exactly remember how it even happened. I know he said some shit. I said some shit. I punched him in the mouth. He pushed me. Sent me flying out the door like some fucking Omni-Man ass fucking sent me just flying. And then I grabbed his hoodie and like it basically ended up like pushing his head in between 2 metal railings to get his head stuck. I don't fucking know. I was trying to get out of there. I didn't want to, get either of us hurt, man. That's my bro. He was just angry, I guess.
These themes. So the plot that comes from this isn't logical. It's not the story you'd expect from a movie script. It's emotional logic, cause and effect that's used to reinforce the core emotion, not to make literal sense. But why it chooses these specific themes, or where those themes even come from, is something we still don't know. However, some people have ventured far enough
to give us scared me. I'm not even gonna lie, I wasn't ready for that.
Level 4 is where dreams cross a boundary.
That was one that was one creepy looking old bitch. Jesus.
Like they're generated from you and start feeling like they're generated for you. Experiences include characters that keep returning, real places you'll visit, and encounters with independent agents. But above all else, what defines this level is the feeling that your experience isn't yours. And on Reddit, there's some really strange examples of this. One case describes the experience of encountering the same figure night after night across more than 10 years of dreaming, first meeting as children and then growing up together. Another describes dreaming about places they've never been to or heard of, vividly picturing everything, like the
I don't know, you gotta take everything you read online with a grain of salt, especially if it comes from Reddit.
Colors, the architecture, or the extravagant shop names, only to then wake up and find out that that place and the way they dreamt it actually exists. In both cases, the dream unfolds from their perspective, while the person in place feel like independent agents. However, these are individual examples. It's not like this theme is that widespread, right? Nope. When I was looking through the massive dream bank database, the most interesting thing I found was this: consistent reports of being chased, sometimes by strangers and sometimes by people you know, sometimes on foot and sometimes in a vehicle. Regardless, the theme is so widespread that it consistently ranks in the top 3 most.
Well, yeah, of course, because if you look at these, fallen, being chased, death, feeling lost, feeling trapped, being attacked, something, an important event, these are all common things people are, like, have a fear of or could, like, tie into some real life stuff that's going on in their life. So, of course, these are going to be the most common dreams, because besides that, you're going to have very individual dreams, very specific dreams to yourself. But we all, for the most part, have these same larger fears, you know, to the same or to some aspect.
Experience nightmares, as well as being the single most frequently reoccurring one. But what's more is that it's often accompanied by an inability to escape, where the dreamer falls and then gets caught, or where their legs get so heavy that they can't move. It's not like the dreamer wants that to happen, they're actively trying to escape. And yet, in a similar manner to the Reddit examples, no matter how urgently they try, the outcome is inevitable. I believe that this is because the elements of your dreams can mean multiple things at once. But why this happens is particularly interesting to me. We know it's because, in some way, level 4 is where the brain attempts to extract meaning from the structured emotions it created earlier. But extracting meaning predominantly comes in 2 forms. There's the top layer, which is subjective and personal, determined by things like your experience, memories, and how you interpret them. And then there's the deeper layer, which is universal and instinctual, shaped by evolutionary pressures or the inherited neural templates that follow. Generally, the structuring of dreams comes from the top layer, so think things like the people, length of, or situations in your dreams. While the emotional gravity, the 5 themes from earlier, come from the deeper, shared layer. In your dream, both are present at the same time, but to do that, your brain uses something called an emergent attractor network, which, to keep it brief, are reoccurring motifs of memory that emerge from the interactions of neurons due to how they're connected. This gives them 2 key properties: stable concepts that can be recalled consistently.
Isn't it weird that shit like this just happens? Little tiny micro size little things touching and connecting, like, cause these reactions to literally leave us in a hallucinatory state in our dreams. Like, it's just weird, like that, like, it's almost like magic almost, you know? But it's so normalized because it's just been a normal thing since the beginning of time, you know, with humans and other animals, because I'm pretty sure other animals dream. Dogs definitely dream.
While also being flexible enough to adapt to new experiences. The adaptable part is where your control in the dream, the top layer, comes from, while the stable part stays the same, and is where the elements you can't control come from. So, for example, if you experience a nightmare about being chased, the person chasing you might embody something from your personal life that you've had a recent
Let me see what's in that picnic basket.
conflict with, while the experience of being chased embodies the universal fear of a confrontation with inescapable consequences. In the Reddit example with the unknown person appearing again and again, this figure might reappear whenever the dreamer is caught in a reoccurring emotional cycle, but in the stable layer, it's a symbol for a part of them that they need to incorporate. And it's only when they do that the person and the emotional cycle will stop appearing. So in other words, the lack of control is what provides the consistent framework necessary to make the dream interpretable, while the flexibility of it is shaped and colored by your own experiences or whatever you're going through. Still, level 4 is where dream research basically falls off a cliff, so I'm reasoning based on the limited information I have. But what makes this even crazier is that this isn't even the deepest level. There's some dreams where you know you're dreaming, and that awareness
Lucid
opens
dreaming?
up a whole new door into an entirely different experience.
Y'all ever lucid dream? If so, let me know in the comments. I want to hear y'all stories about what y'all did, man. What the fuck y'all get up to in your crazy twisted dreams?
It's rare, and I've never experienced it before, but in the people who get to level 5, something radically different emerges. Lucid dreaming.
Yep, I knew it.
Which is when you're in a
Pre-watch.
dream, but are aware of the fact that you're in a dream. When things are going your way, that's great. You can randomly fly, or jump through walls, or otherwise play around with the contents of your unconscious. But when it's not, It's terrifying, as just because you're aware doesn't mean you have control. And when this happens, two experiences are reported more than any others.
I've had that happen where so I've had two types of different occurrences. I've had very rarely in my life moments where I swear to like sleep paralysis where you wake up stuck in your bed and you were dreaming or whatever, but you can't get up, move, talk, nothing. I've had one time where I couldn't even open my eyes. Like I was awake and stuff, but I couldn't yell for help. I couldn't open my eyes, nothing. I was stuck. Anyways, but I've also had the ones where I'm actually in the dream, like some zombie apocalypse situation, because I had a lot of those dreams growing up. Because I was obsessed with zombies, still am. But anyways, I get to a certain point in that scenario where I'm got too scared or was stuck, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I know I'm dreaming. This isn't real. I know it. Come on, just let me wake up. And I wouldn't wake up, and there was nothing I could do but just wait it out and sit in that room or whatever. Just wait it out, and it is horrible.
With hostile characters and getting stuck in a nesting dream. In the first one, there are many reports on both Reddit and the Dream Bank that explain what happens. The person becomes lucid, gains awareness, and tries to tell the figures in their dreams that they aren't real. In the good scenarios, nothing happens, but in the bad ones, the characters get angry, sometimes screaming things like, "You weren't supposed to know," and at others, just turning around to lunge at the dreamer. No one really knows why things like this happen.
Damn, that's fucking creepy, but I kind of want to experience it though, Like, cause you gonna wake up from it, you gonna be fine afterwards, but that would like make me think about it so long. I'd be like, what? My mind would be blown. I honestly might go crazy after that, especially if they turn around saying, "You weren't supposed to know that." Like, the fuck y'all plotting in my own head?
Thing we do know about lucid dreams is that parts of your prefrontal cortex reactivate. But even that gets complicated, because in the second experience, you don't have the same level of freedom. As the reports go, a person wakes up and starts their day. They get dressed, use the bathroom, and brush their teeth. At first, everything feels normal, until they catch the reflection in the mirror. It's wrong. Their nose is on their forehead, and the mirror is a different color than it's supposed to be.
I've never had that happen, but y'all ever had that happen where you wake up, right? And then you fall back asleep without realizing it, and then you're dreaming that you're getting ready. I've done that a few times, especially like growing up when I was little. That was like a very common occurrence. My dad would wake me up, be like, "Hey, it's time to get ready for school, get dressed." I'd be like, "Okay," like leaning up, and as soon as he walked out the room, I must have just put my head back down and slumped. And then in my dream, I'm getting dressed, getting my bagel ready to eat it, brushing my teeth, and the next thing you know, my dad's waking up like, "What the fuck are you still doing in bed? Get your ass up."
As soon as they realize, bam, they wake up. Luckily, it was just a dream. So they feel a sense of relief and then get started on their morning routine again. But when they check the mirror this time, their face is still distorted.
Oh,
Only now, the mirror's color matches reality. So they panic and then bam, wake up again. This time, they get suspicious. So they go straight into the bathroom and look at the reflection in the mirror. Immediately, a sense of relief washes over them. They're finally actually awake. But then, when they take a second glance, their face distorts again. Suddenly, bam, they wake.
That gives me chills right now. I got the chicken skins, bro. Like, that would be so trippy. Like, you're literally in, like, a dream level Groundhog's Day, but it's only for, like, a few seconds. Just a constant loop every few minutes. That's, oh my god.
This time, for real. In the report.
And after, like, the second, third time, would you still think you're dreaming, or would you think something else is going on?
Reports of people who have experienced this cycle can happen again and again and again, sometimes 7 times in total, all while the dream gets closer to reality every single time. It's a terrifying experience to think about, honestly, because as of right now, all we have are reports. Some people think these experiences emerge from the tension of being aware and the system of the dream itself. Others think it's because your awareness can't sync with the sensory input you get when you're awake. So the looping is done to flip through dream layers and waking signals until they match, and that's when you wake up.
That doesn't make sense. I don't even know exactly what he said. Like what? Like with like when you go to the eye test and they're like swapping between the lens. This one better or is this one better? 1 or 2? Is that what they're talking about? Is that what your eyes are doing? Going between them until it finds the correct one?
Regardless, this is the final level of dreams, at least based on our understanding right now. And honestly, I think it just opens more questions than it answers.
Oh, most definitely, man. That was a great fucking video. Definitely gonna have me thinking about it. But hey, definitely tell me some of your dream stories, some of your craziest dreams or whatever. I definitely want to know. I love reading dream stories. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed. As always, check out the original video. Like I said in the beginning, link is in the description down below. But as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay snazzy, stay blessed.